Iran cuts power and internet. What happens next? Over the past 2 days, views on the Iran situation have shifted clearly. At first, messages from the United States suggested that Trump was likely to authorize a military strike on Iran. Many observers believed the situation was close to a breaking point. However, just before military action seemed ready to begin, Trump suddenly stopped the plan. This reversal pushed the Iran situation back into uncertainty. What looked close to a final outcome became hard to judge again. Because of this, it is now unclear what stage protests inside Iran have reached. Have they already been crushed by the government? Or are they only temporarily suppressed, moving into a form that is harder to see from the outside? At this moment, there is no clear answer. The lack of transparent information, combined with shifting external positions, makes it almost impossible to tell whether the protests are still building strength or have already lost momentum. A key reason for this confusion is that, a few days ago, Iranian authorities cut power and internet access across large parts of the country. This action blocked the main channels through which information normally flows out of Iranian society. Under normal conditions, people judge the real strength of protests through first-hand material from the ground. This includes phone videos, audio recordings, and real-time images shared by ordinary people on social media. But after the power and internet cuts, nearly all of this raw information disappeared. The outside world can no longer see what is happening on the streets. It can no longer hear what is happening on the ground. All that remains is guessing inside an information vacuum. As a result, we have almost lost the ability to judge Iran's real situation. So far, no one outside can reliably say how large the violent clashes have been. It is also unclear whether the government has fired on protesters. The number of civilian deaths is unknown. All reports are mixed with rumors, and second-hand stories, making them hard to verify. This problem is especially clear when it comes to death counts. Different media outlets report wildly different numbers. Some say only a few hundred people have died. Others claim the number is already over 10,000 or even 20,000. Such a huge gap shows one thing clearly. When information is cut off at a system level, the outside world is almost blind to what is really happening in Iran. For this reason, all current claims about whether the situation has been suppressed, cooling down, or brought back under control are based on very incomplete information. Because of this information gap, it is necessary to draw a realistic conclusion from the act of cutting power and internet itself. From the results so far, Iran's use of power and internet shutdowns has been very effective in shaping outside perception. At least for now, it has worked. The outside world has been almost completely cut off from knowing what is truly happening inside Iran. Images, sounds, and records that could have influenced global opinion were forced back inside the country. They could not spread. This shows one important point. What the Iranian government fears most is not only street protests, but those scenes being seen, recorded, and confirmed by the outside world. In other words, information itself creates pressure. That is exactly why it must be cut. Under this condition, what Iranian citizens should focus on first is not rushing to show the world. The priority should be saving what has already happened. Videos, audio files, and on-site images stored on phones are carriers of facts. During power and internet shutdowns, they cannot spread. But that does not mean they have no value. A calm and realistic judgment is this: no matter whether this crackdown succeeds or fails, Iran cannot keep the country offline forever. A state can cut power and communication for a short time. It cannot keep an entire society offline for the long term. A more likely order is this: power will return first. Internet access will return later at some unknown time. But some form of restoration is almost certain. Because restoration is inevitable, what is happening now must be preserved carefully. Images, audio, and records should be copied and backed up onto offline physical storage. They are evidence for the future. Cutting the internet can stop transmission, It cannot erase what already happened. As long as these files are preserved, they may still reach the public when the network returns. If they are lost, then it is as if nothing ever happened. In an environment where information is forcibly cut off, preservation itself becomes resistance to forgetting. The reason to move media files off phones and into offline storage is not mainly technical. It is based on a judgment about how the Iranian authorities think and act. If Iran chooses to restore the network, it will do so only when it is confident those materials cannot spread. The purpose of a shutdown is to block information from flowing out. If protest-related media could still upload and spread freely the moment the network returns, then the shutdown would have been pointless. So it is reasonable to assume this. Until authorities are confident they can control this content, the network will not be restored. In other words, network restoration may signal that stronger technical controls are already in place. Under this condition, reconnecting to the internet may not simply mean going back online. It may involve forced and unavoidable system-level interaction. This could happen through system updates, background processes, or other methods. Once a device reconnects, it may be processed in a unified way. The simplest and lowest cost approach is not to judge files one by one. It is to apply a broad action to everything. This is similar to how shutdowns cut everyone off, without distinguishing protesters from non-protesters. From a technical and governance view, this approach is consistent. When precise filtering is difficult, total clearing is the safest and cheapest option. Some may say this sounds extreme, but past large-scale power and internet shutdowns show that Iranian authorities are willing and able to act in this broad way. It is also likely that network restoration will not happen nationwide all at once. It may happen in stages or by region. Major cities or the capital may reconnect first. In these areas, control is stronger and easier to manage. Only later might wider areas come back online. But one logic remains the same. Once the network returns, original media on phones may already be unable to spread. Because of this, moving existing media files to fully offline, unreachable physical storage is necessary. The goal is not immediate sharing. The goal is to prevent sudden, irreversible deletion when the network returns. Recent scattered reports suggest this judgment is not exaggerated. It may even be conservative, based on what can be pieced together. Citizens protest during the day. At night, authorities use harsher measures. Homes suspected of using Starlink devices are searched. Some reports say not only devices are taken, entire families are also detained. The stated reason is spreading information harmful to the state. Even if some details are overstated, one point is clear. The Iranian government fears information leaving the country, far more than it tolerates street protests themselves. In this context, the future technical path is not complicated. Checking phones one by one is costly and unrealistic. Handling devices at the network level is much easier. The most likely outcome is not permanent disconnection. It is limited connection where nothing can be shared. For minutes or hours, users may appear online. In the background, deletion or copying may already be happening. There are at least two serious risks here. One risk is that media files are deleted in bulk and cannot be recovered. The second risk is more hidden and more dangerous. Files may be copied without the owner knowing. They may be stored as evidence for future punishment. At that point, the issue is no longer whether content can be posted. The issue is whether those materials are still safely under personal control. Because of this, preparing early is not paranoia. Backing up all existing media to offline storage is a rational choice. Separating facts from phones reduces risk. After backups are confirmed, keeping less sensitive material on the phone may actually be safer. What is preserved is evidence, not danger. In an environment where information itself is treated as a threat, the real danger is not whether you speak. It is what you still hold. Once the network returns, control may no longer be in individual hands. Preserving facts in advance while keeping risk offline may be the most rational choice ordinary people can make.